We're going to roll both of the topics that we did yesterday on the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff into one video here because there's not really a lot of trial stuff to really go over today. It's very dense information. It was just a half day because they just did, well, they kind of figured out what they're going to be charging the kid with, and it's not going to be a fun way to end the day, especially if you're of a similar persuasion as your boy right here. But first and foremost, we got to get this media insanity out of the way because I think that's pretty important to get out in front of. And we got the local, I guess probably as close as you can get, the local NBC affiliate. And the way that they have this is just so typical of the way that the media has been framing all of this. Okay, witness in Rittenhouse trial speaks to CNN. You'll never guess which witness was there. He also had a interview where I guess he was probably characterized also as a witness on Good Morning America yesterday. And Wendy Rittenhouse, his stupid mother, was on Fox News making some really outlandish claims. Like, man, the only person who really looks good, at least in my opinion, after watching all of the fucking coverage. Like, I can say that I've watched just about, okay, from at least A1, okay, day one of the actual trial. I didn't watch a lot of the jury selection. I watched a couple of bits and pieces. But from the moment this thing started, all the way through till today, and then definitely with Monday with the closing arguments, I will have watched every fucking second of this, so I think I have a fairly good grasp on what the situation is. The only person who looks good coming out of this, the only person who has performed the best in their given capacity, is Kyle Rittenhouse, okay? And before I wrap everything up, we're just gonna get through this because it's just fucking insanity. We're just days until the Kyle Rittenhouse trial is set to be in the hands of the jury. Wendy Rittenhouse gave her first interview since her son testified to Fox News. When was Kyle on Fox News? I don't remember that, but whatever. She didn't indicate what she thinks the outcome of the trial will be. Nobody really knows. She said that she feels the jury is paying good attention and told Sean Hannity that she thinks Judge Bruce Schrader is very fair. Okay, so she's obviously not very bright, but to be fair, she's also incredibly distraught because she's seeing her son put on a show trial. Meanwhile, Gaige Grosskreutz, the armed, he wasn't a medic. Okay, the armed medic, okay, cool. I have first aid as well. I guess I'm a medic who was shot by Kyle Rittenhouse and survived. Where's the mention that he also had a firearm pointed at Kyle Rittenhouse's head, where he said in his testimony that Kyle didn't fire on Gaige until he pointed a gun at him, for fuck's sakes. No, he went on at Anderson Cooper and then just absolutely said, oh yeah, I kind of lied on the stand, but we'll get to that and we'll at least see if NBC properly characterizes that. I just can't believe this. This is an ongoing murder trial, and key players in this entire thing. Gaige Grosskreutz probably more so than Wendy Rittenhouse, but Wendy did also take Kyle from their home in Antioch and then take Kyle to the police station in order to turn himself in. So she does have a role to play in this, but comparing the two is a little bit disingenuous. But they are both a part of this trial. What the fuck are you talking to the media for? But one's going to get painted as an absolute hero. You know, the convicted felon who had a gun pointed... Whatever. You're not going to hear about this, and the media is just going to go on a fucking spin all throughout the weekend. And you remember, the jury's not sequestered at this time, so they can go home. Oh, they've been told by the judge, who's doing a very fair job. No, that they're just not supposed to pay attention to anything that goes on with the trial. Oh, okay, yep, stay off social media, stay off your television. Okay, this is their instructions for the weekend. Yeah, do that, okay? Do that from yesterday evening all the way through until you get picked up Monday morning. Make sure you just do that, okay, so you don't have your opinion swayed. Meanwhile, you have fucking sympathetic mainstream media outlets that are just giving a fucking platform to a fucking felon. Ugh. And to be fair, is a distraught mother. Like, what the fuck are you doing? How do you think this is helping, okay? This is as retarded as the defense thinking that Kyle going up on the stand would somehow help him. The only reason that there's going to be additional fucking charges is because of the testimony of Kyle Rittenhouse. It was stupid to do, and the consequences of that could prove to be what ends up fucking up this kid's life due to years spent in jail because some fucking brainlets out there think, oh, if we don't convict him on the top charge, we can just go ahead and convict him of a lesser charge because that would make us seem fair and balanced. Fuck off. But yeah, old fucking lefty there was on CNN's Anderson Cooper, wanted to know why Grosskreutz testified that his gun was pointed at Rittenhouse, but has since insisted it was not. No, just like actual legitimate video footage, multiple angles, okay? Multiple pictures show that he had his pistol pointed right at Kyle Rittenhouse, but because he's not under oath anymore and he can just continue to make the media tour, no, I didn't do that. No, no, it didn't happen. During the live interview, Grosskreutz said, the only way that I could have sustained the injury that I have is if I shot with my arms up. You, what? We got to read that back again, because that's just so stupid. It went in one ear and then went directly out the other. Kind of like how the bullet went in one side of the bicep and then just blew out the other side. Fun. The only way that I could have sustained the injury... Oh, okay, because he has a little bit of EMT training, he all of a sudden... No, he's also a ballistics expert. Cool. I'm glad one of them was up on the stand to testify something like this. Could have sustained the injury that I have is if I had been shot with my arms up. No, Cooper pressed. So, did you ever point your gun at him? We have the video footage, Mr. Grosskreutz, but do remember, you're not under oath. I think that, again, in the still photos, it certainly looks like it, but I never intentionally. Are you retarded? No, he's just an obvious fucking liar. You have to understand that following that gunshot, I had no use of my arm. No, what we're concerned about, I don't give a fuck what you can do now, okay? What you were doing at the time, pointing the gun directly at Kyle, but you're just a liar. You're a fucking liar. I wasn't able to move anything in my right arm or on my right arm. Sucks to suck. You shouldn't have pointed a gun at him and he wouldn't have fired on you. That's what you testified to under oath, but you go ahead and you make perjurous statements on CNN because they'll just continue. They'll probably, I don't know, at the end of this trial, they'll probably just go ahead and ship you an open contract so you could be a contributor as well. Maybe you can be a firearms expert or an expert on how to transition from being a righty to a lefty. Rittenhouse has pleaded not guilty to all the charges, which are mounting thanks to today's fucking abomination. During the Fox News interview, Wendy Rittenhouse also said her son is not a white supremacist nor a racist. We know that, okay? And then she's also making allusions to trying to sue Joe Biden for that still that we showed, I think it was yesterday, where Joe Biden tweeted out as a part of a whole video. I don't think Joe was in the fucking editing booth when it had a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse. And it had the disclaimer of, or rather the caption, white supremacist. That's like, okay, maybe your editors are a bit defamatory, but then at the end of the day, you're trying to sue the president? Like, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with these people? Keep your mouth shut, because anything that gets fucking said about this over the weekend is just going to be spun without any sort of fucking defense. It's not like you'd get that from the defense counsel anyways, because they were ineffectual and retarded. Hannity asked if she and her son have discussed whether or not Kyle Rittenhouse should go into a situation like the one in Kenosha. Yeah, that's also like going up to a victim of rape saying, well, were you really thinking about how short that skirt was? You were kind of asking for it that night. Cool, so we just go ahead and secede the ground. This is why Sean Hannity and fucking Fox News is worthless. If presented with that choice again, she said, I know him and I know he would probably do it again. He just hopefully would have aimed about a foot over and he could have saved CNN some fucking worthless airtime. Because that's the kind of person he is. He wants to help people even since he was a little boy, and that's why he's becoming a nurse, okay? But yeah, we'll move on a little bit because more left-wing pundits are out there and they're just fucking retarded, okay? Honestly. Left-wing pundits triggered by a Rittenhouse judge honoring veterans on Veterans Day. Yeah, he said this before trial officially started, okay? By the way, this was not on the record or anything like that, okay? Because yesterday was Veterans Day, obviously, everybody knows that, or Remembrance Day up here in Canada. And he was asking if there were any veterans in the courtroom, if there were any veterans on the jury, and he just wanted to give a round of applause and thank you for your service, okay? Don't see what the problem is. But then again, if anybody sneezes, they probably think that it's somehow an admission of white supremacy. So let's see what these retards are up against. Schrader took the time on Thursday during the infamous Kyle Rittenhouse trial. How many fucking worthless descriptors do you need? over which he is presiding to honor the military on Veterans Day. Critics on the left are calling this as a sign of bias. Yeah, but waking up in the morning and saying good morning to your wife or your significant other is probably a sign of racism or bias because he didn't say it to everybody else in your neighborhood. The judge was slammed by the far left for daring to pay tribute to those who fought for our freedoms, okay? When Schrader asked if there were any veterans in the room, Dr. John Black, the defense's use of force expert, no, he was just kind of there to talk about video, but yeah, okay, you guys do you, identified himself as an Army veteran according to the Associated Press, okay? I feel better every single day whenever the Associated Press comes out with a stupid fucking headline for the fact that I took them to task a couple of weeks ago for just being propagandists. Oh no, the Associated Press is fair and balanced. And no, they're fucking frauds. This elicited howls from the left, claiming the judge was favoring its defense, which is obviously not the case, okay? Once again, I don't give a fuck about this, but then again, the Associated Press characterization that Dr. John Black was there to be a use of force expert, he was there to attest and testify to his video evidence. He had extensive armed forces background, 30 years in the fucking military, as well as another 23 in law enforcement. He should have been up there for the entire day. The dude knows how to testify, okay? And he didn't say anything about use of force. It was all about cleaning up video, syncing video, and enhancing video. And he provided the reports, and he provided everything that he did, and nothing was fucking altered, okay? But yeah, no, use of force expert. I'm sure he's testified that capacity somewhere else, but once again, misrepresenting the trial. No shit. I just want to observe that it's Veterans Day, and any veterans in the room, on the jury, or anywhere else, inquire Judge Schrader. Well, that's unusual not to have somebody here. One person, Dr. Black, finally raised his hand. Well, Dr. Black is what branch? Army, sir. He replied. And then, yeah, they stood up and everybody clapped. I'm not saying that derogatorily, but yeah, that's what happened.
As a former state and federal prosecutor and defense attorney, I'm horrified at Schrader's untethered bias and unprofessionalism,
said the USA Today's Michael Stern. Man, shut the fuck up. There's a reason you work for the USA Today and you're not any sort of a successful lawyer anymore. Don't even know if you ever were to begin with. Maybe that's why you're working for USA Today. Following is an excerpt from the article published by the Associated Press. Here we go. Schrader, who wore a tie Thursday emblazoned with a tiny little American flags and whose phone ringtone heard in the courtroom was Lee Greenwood's ode to patriotism, God bless the USA, okay, has signaled out veterans before. Okay. He called for a round of applause for veterans last week during jury selection. Okay. When he compared the solemnity of jury duty to the seriousness of being drafted. It's a fair comparison if you're going to go out on this fucking branch. He also thanked the Marines during Wednesday's court session as it was I'm going to forget, but it was the anniversary of the United States Marine Corps. So once again, it's kind of on brand for him. So what the fuck did you expect? And when an officer in the courtroom said he was a Marine, Schrader called for more applause. Okay. I get what you're going at, but then again, if you're going to characterize, anybody who likes the United States or anybody who is in the armed forces as being biased, my dude, that is projection of just astral proportions. Of course, there were opinions on both sides of the issue. Prominent sports reporter Dave Hookstead called Schrader's honoring of the nation's veterans a pretty cool moment. It was kind of a side note, and that's how most people should probably view something that is, for all intents and purposes, fucking relevant. But if you're a lefty, you're gonna scream about literally anything. So just needed to give you that little bit of background before we get into the trial itself. Oh, but speaking of which, yesterday, Schrader said that there was going to be Asian food for lunch, and that same Spurg tank really took it up to 11. I remember hearing this, and I don't even know what the fuck anything is about, but I heard Asian food, and I knew exactly this was going to start trending on Twitter. That's why social media is fucking cancer. Leftist internet trolls. No, just leftists on the internet. Okay, I think by virtue of being a leftist, ergo you're a troll, have been crying racism in response to Kyle Rittenhouse's trial. Judge Bruce Schrader's reference to Asian food on Thursday as court went into recess. The alleged faux pas Yeah, it's not though. Happened as Judge Schrader dismissed the court for lunch on Thursday afternoon, during which he mocked President Biden's supply crisis at Asian food's expense. Let's hope for 1 o'clock. I don't know. Hope the Asian food isn't coming. It isn't one of those. It isn't on one of those boats in Long Beach Harbor, he said. Remember, this is taking place in Wisconsin. California is just a little bit of a journey between Wisconsin and California, in case you're unaware. Oh, who spurged out about this? Judge in Kyle Rittenhouse trial makes inappropriate Asian food joke. Inappropriate joke. Thanks, CNN. Once again, doing the Lord's work. John Yang, president and executive director of Asian Americans Advancing Justice. Ugh. Told the far-left outlet the judge's joke will put the Asian community in the crosshairs of oh my god. I hope somebody puts you in the crosshairs and leaves out the microaggressions part. All I can say is, ugh, old racist stereotypes die hard. But it's a long-time theory that Asians are slow delivering food? I don't think so. Or that Joe Biden has been around forever. I guess maybe that's a like, what the fuck are we talking about? Old and racist and whatever. Echo chamber on the Twitterverse. Fair enough. Let's leave it there. But I seen this headline. We're not going to read this story. We need to get into the motions anyways. This video is getting long enough in the tooth. But this is the New York Post, who we pointed out a couple of times has been inflammatory and unfair in their coverage for the most part. But we got an opinion piece here, which I'll link in the description if you'd like to read it. It's actually a pretty fair account and kind of excoriates their own outlet here. But Bill Jacobson, the media framed Kyle Rittenhouse and won't come clean even after the prosecution case falls apart. It's falling apart, but unfortunately it got fortified today, and I am not optimistic that this kid is going to get off as scot-free. He should. The facts bore that out, and what he's having to go through is something that I hope nobody ever has to go through again. I don't care what side of the aisle you fall on, but the way that he's been treated by the court of public opinion, by the prosecution, and even by his own defense counsel is ridiculous, okay? The one good thing they did, was pipe up and said that, Rittenhouse is in therapy and he suffers from PTSD. Should probably know that. And today there was no jury there, and they theoretically shouldn't be hearing it. But who knows if this is going to fall on deaf ears. Mark Richards, the lead defense attorney, somebody should tell him so then he could object to something. Like, does he think that his objections, like, everybody's allotted a certain amount? Because this dude is silent as a motherfucker in the courtroom. Okay, he might as well be the court reporter for as much fucking input as he puts out there. It's despicable, okay? The reason the closing arguments are going to be so buck wild is because both of these counsels, the prosecution and the defense, are so fucking inept at every single intersection. Some days, the defense absolutely stinks, okay? They sucked in opening, they sucked in the first day of trial, then they sucked today on, there was no motions, okay? There should have been a motion for mistrial. They should have filed for a motion of whatever the equivalent in Wisconsin for directed verdict, where the judge could say, listen, the prosecution didn't fucking prove anything, and they got to prove all of the charges against Rittenhouse beyond a reasonable doubt. They should have filed that after the prosecution arrests their case in chief Monday afternoon. But they didn't. They did fuck all, okay? They're just letting everything go through, okay? They're letting Fat Ass, or Fatlock, whatever is Jim Krause there, go up there and then just openly testify and then just ask open-ended questions and practically just lead whoever he wants whenever he's questioning up there. And he snaps at the judge, and then the judge, oh no, he yells at the prosecution and then does nothing about it and then just lets them get away with, pretty much murder. And Kyle's going to end up bearing the brunt of this. Yeah, let's get to the one good point about this. Anyways, okay, so Mark Richards is the lead defense attorney for Kyle Rittenhouse in his murder trial in Kenosha, Wisconsin, informed the court on Friday that his client suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. You can pretty much kind of understand why. And then if you were watching the trial as well, unlike this fucking lump of shit right up here, LeBron James, you'd kind of notice that from the fact that he was keeping it together for the most part until he had to relive the moment of Joseph Rosenbaum chasing him down, and then he had to protect himself in self-defense. And then later during the hours-long cross-examination, when Binger just wouldn't fucking let up on the same point over and over and over again, and his defense counsel would not even once object to that badgering line of questioning, he started to get choked up a little bit. And because Binger can't read a fucking room, he just drilled down on that kid for hours. I guess him and Rosenbaum have a lot in common. A revelation came as the judge questioned Rittenhouse about waiving his right to overrule his attorney during a discussion over what instructions would be provided to the jury. The prosecution and defense attorneys also discussed whether the jury would be instructed to consider lesser included offenses, such as the possibility of a conviction on a second degree rather than a first degree murder. We'll get to that shortly. The defense agreed to allow those. I can't believe that. Apparently opting for a strategy of pursuing full acquittal. Somebody has to fucking figure something out. You gotta figure out a way to justify whatever tactic, okay? Just being absolutely brain dead. Oh, just let the jury figure everything out. Have you talked to the average human being? Because that's theoretically who's on the jury, okay? And they can be swayed to believe anything. But here's the proper context of admitting that he has PTSD and he's in therapy because of it. Schrader asked whether Rittenhouse had agreed to waive his rights and asked whether he had acted under duress. He added, "Have you ever been treated for a mental and emotional disorder?" Rittenhouse, who had answered the previous questions, rapidly paused and whispered to his attorneys. The previous questions, okay, there wasn't ever that line of questioning before, but they were asking, are you of sign, or is anybody coercing you to do this? Is anybody, are you of sound mind and body today? Have you got adequate sleep and all that kind of just regular stuff as to when asking if all of these charges that your defense is just kind of all willy-nilly allowing towards the court and then is going to be put towards the jury on on Monday afternoon. If you're all right with that, if the defense is acting in your best intentions, I'd argue not, but that was the line of questioning. They were just running down, your regular things, okay? And then, yeah, as soon as they got onto the, have you ever been treated for a mental or emotional disorder? And it was like, well, it's kind of fucking obvious, but just for clarity's sake, okay? So he paused and whispered to his attorneys. Later, Richards clarified, his pause is, I believe, because he's in therapy. I don't think he has mental illness or anything as a result of the incident. He has PTSD, I think. The judge replied, okay, but does that affect his judgment now or reasoning power? I don't believe so, Richards replied. Rittenhouse added, no. Yeah, he said no, but that wasn't the only things that he did during the day. It was a lot of face-palming and then realizing that he was face-palming and then just sweeping back his hair. But it's not that bad because the only people who, like I said, theoretically should have been watching today are in the media and just people who are watching self-defense get fucking self-immolated for absolutely no reason because the defense and the prosecution are equally but differently inept. Okay, so judge rejects claim that Rittenhouse denied his bullets were more dangerous. This is just weird because the prosecution was just grasping at fucking straws before the end of the day, where we got to once again talk about that doctored photo, for lack of a better term. During Kyle Rittenhouse's trial on Friday, Judge Bruce Schrader rebuffed prosecutorial claims that Rittenhouse denied the bullets in his guns were more dangerous than those in other firearms. Again, this is the level of fucking nonsense that this trial has produced, okay? Oh, if you're Binger, you had big gun, Gaige only had small gun. That means that he wasn't a threat to you. Oh, what's that? You bought an AR-15, AR-27? I don't know. The numbers get bigger, and then I just think that they're more scary. And the only reason you bought that is because you play Call of Duty, and that's where you shoot all the people, right? That's the level of expertise that Binger provides to this courtroom. Prosecution contended that Rittenhouse denied the danger of shooting at an individual identified as Jump Kick Man. Yeah, the one who jumped and kicked Kyle in the face, and then Kyle, as to prevent him from getting his fucking skull bashed against the sidewalk and having his brains splattered all the way across the street. He fired 2 rounds at Jump Kick Man. And the prosecution was trying to get that to be a reckless murder charge. Unbelievable. It's fucking unbelievable. Schrader interpreted the prosecution's continued talk, and the judge noted, I don't think that it's exactly what was stated. For example, the discussion about what kind of guns were more powerful. I was kind of intrigued about it because it was a close contact, and suggestion was being made by Mr. Binger that the rifle, because its more powerful weapon, was more dangerous, or something to that effect. And of course, in the close contact situation like that, it may be the pistol as much as is a much more desirable weapon. The one that Gaige Grosskreutz was holding at close range, you don't say. But I thought the discussion was focused on that type of issue rather than your claim that the defendant was suggesting his weapon wasn't dangerous. It's a whole bunch of minutia. And yeah, the defense was winning a bunch of these different motions, okay? Additional charges for a fair few of the top counts, but one that got allowed today is fucking baffling. It's absolutely baffling, and it was all off the back of that fuzzy fucking picture and that worthless fucking video evidence that just arrived at the prosecutor's office just Friday afternoon after the court. Oh, it just arrived here, and now we can go over it over the weekend. And they never properly quantified it. They just said, oh, we seen it on Tucker Carlson some months ago, therefore we can just admit it and just manipulate it for whatever fucking purpose we need it to. The judge presiding over Kyle Rittenhouse trial on Friday, again, I think I clarified it earlier, but Judge Schrader is nobody's friend in this one. Oh, he'll make blustery comments, and oh, that'll make the headlines. Biased judge yells at prosecutors who didn't do nothing. No, he can yell at him all he wants, but if for violating Kyle Rittenhouse's Fifth Amendment privileges by asking probing questions that were already decided would be off the table when it comes to questioning, not doing anything about it then, or snapping at fat ass every time that he's equally as quippy, if you don't follow it up with anything, what fucking good are your emotional outbursts? I don't get it. Schrader said he would issue his final ruling on Saturday. I don't know. This is supposed to just go out to the prosecution and to the defense in email form as to what the jury instructions for Monday morning are going to be before closing statements, which again, okay, this goes to show you how effective Schrader has been as a judge, okay? Because closing statements could have happened today, okay? It could have been happening this afternoon. They could have been happening right fucking now for all we know. But he got pushed off, okay? Because, the weekend's coming up. Yeah, we don't want to have the jury working over the weekend. And it's like, I don't know why. This should be over and done with and just quick as all get out. But whatever. Okay, so both sides agreed to that. And then Schrader said, okay, well, as a concession, as a moment of cooperation from you guys, if we're going to push this off to Monday, I'm going to need specific time frames, and if you guys can't work out your closing arguments within about 90 minutes, okay, then we're going to have to rediscuss this. Okay, the defense was fine with that, and then Binger is like, oh no, we need at least 2.5 hours for this, and then rebuttal on top of that. And then Schrader, because he knows what negotiations are all about, he said, oh, okay, fine, both sides are going to get 2.5 hours. Again, Binger, who has violated constitutionally enshrined rights, who has repeatedly gotten yelled at, okay, just is allowed to get away with everything. Yeah? Cool. Yeah, so final ruling on Saturday, but he has also made some findings from the bench and indicated how he was inclined to rule on others. Again, yeah, he was also inclined to consider a directed ruling or the call for a mistrial with prejudice, where the case would be totally thrown out and it couldn't be tried again. He was also taking that under consideration, but then he just fucking folded like a cheap suit, like the one that D.A. Krause is wearing. Or ADA Krause, sorry. Don't need to elevate him any higher, mostly because there's no platform that could properly support his weight. At one point, he told Rittenhouse, with the lesser charges, you're raising the risk of conviction, although you're avoiding the possibility that the jury will end up compromising on a more serious crime. Yeah, they can just cop out and, oh, well, there's a lesser crime, so we can just go ahead and throw him in jail for years on that one instead of just, convicting him on murder. So you have some of those smooth brains who are on the jury. Oh, clearly the kid, oh, he shouldn't have been there that night, and he had that big scary rifle. You remember what the man in the snazzy suit was saying? So, okay, no, he didn't commit murder, but he did commit reckless whatever, so he can just throw him away in jail for that. This case, man, it could spell the end of self-defense, honestly. Wish I could be more of an upper on this one, but it's just really not in the fucking cards. They're also decreasing the risk that you'll end up in a second trial because the jury is unable to agree. Also alluding to the fact that it very, very much could be a long deliberation with a hung jury at the end of this, where you just have a bunch of people who are just absolute activists on a bunch of the fucking charges, and they can't come to a consensus. Rittenhouse 18 is charged with killing Joseph Rosenbaum, a convicted pedophile, and Anthony Huber, a convicted domestic abuser, and Gaige Grosskreutz, who pointed a gun at his fucking head and also has other felony convictions and charges as well, about as long as his crippled arm. In Kenosha on, August 25th, we know all of this. On Thursday, prosecutors said in court that they plan to ask the judge to allow the jury to consider lesser versions of 2 of those charges, including those related to the shooting of Grosskreutz and Huber. The lesser charges could include reckless homicide or second degree rather than first degree murder, which was exactly what they asked for. Second degree in Grosskreutz failed. The only ones that are still up for, I'm sorry, not Grosskreutz, for Huber. The only charges that are still up for deliberation are the minor in possession of a firearm. And long and short of it is the prosecution needs to hit 3 different standards. Okay, they have to pass all 3 exceptions, which they can't do it, so that charge would most likely, or at least should, be thrown out. But again, Schrader's deferential to just letting everything go to the jury is baffling, even when it's not even remotely close to the law. He knows the law, he understands the law. He is just so rattled by the fucking mainstream media saying something bad about him that he's just paralyzed, and he's not throwing anything out. He doesn't want to take, he doesn't want the appearance that he's taking a strong stand on anything, but this is right now the instance that you should be taking at least some sort of a stance on it, okay? That's why he chastised the mainstream media on, I think, the first day of the trial for mischaracterizing them. They were already in his head, and he's let that affect every single time that he should have been following up on one of his tongue lashings to the prosecution. Rittenhouse's lawyer said that they would accept the jury's consideration of second-degree intentional homicide in the case of Huber, and first-degree reckless homicide, but not second-degree reckless homicide. Okay, yeah, so that was the bananas fucking consideration. So again, that just gives the fucking jury an out. Oh, you don't want to convict him of first-degree reckless homicide? Well, there's a second-degree charge there. What are the conditions for second degree? Oh, I don't know. According to the video footage of the incident, both Huber and Grosskreutz ran at Rittenhouse as he was trying to run towards police after shooting a Rosenbaum. Several videos and photos also show Huber hitting Rittenhouse with a skateboard. It's been attested to by several different people, as well as countless amount of fucking video. While Grosskreutz, who himself was armed with a handgun, no, he wasn't, and he didn't point it at anybody. That's what he told CNN. Testified earlier this week that he thought Huber was attempting to attack Rittenhouse. Yeah, no, that's totally different. A Daily Caller cameraman, Richie McGinnis, testified that Rosenbaum was reaching to grab Rittenhouse's gun as he shot, and then also the stippling that's on his hands is only... His hand was so fucking close to the barrel of the gun that the stippling was only on the palm of his hands. It wasn't on his fucking pinky finger. Okay, that's how close his hand was to the gun. Another journalist on the scene who recorded footage, Drew Hernandez, said Thursday that Rosenbaum charged Rittenhouse from behind before the shooting occurred. Yup. Video footage shows that. The first thing I identified was that Rosenbaum was charging Kyle Rittenhouse from behind, and as he's charging him into the Car Source parking lot, a firearm goes off, Hernandez says, but the judge said he would not allow the jury to consider the lesser charge in the shooting death of Joseph Rosenbaum. The other man, Rittenhouse, was charged with killing last year. Kenosha County Judge Schrader stated in closing arguments that closing arguments in the trial would start on Monday, and the prosecution and the defense each have 2.5 hours to address the jury. It's going to be a long day, but it's going to be infuriating based on the performance of both of the counsels. I think the request for the lesser included charges reflects an acknowledgement that their case might not be as strong with regards to the original charges, and at this point they're willing to give up the prospect of life imprisonment for the defendant in exchange of obtaining convictions on something else. Yeah, that's normally why you file lesser charges, but the only reason why some of these lesser charges are allowed is because of, you remember that blurry fucking picture we showed yesterday. If you want more on that, there's the video up. That's what they're basing all of their stuff on. Oh no, we also got the video that's there as well, and it shows that clearly Kyle Rittenhouse, who's a right-handed shot, was clearly using the left hand of his body, something that Sheriff Easy also brought up, or Sheriff Easy, whatever, Agent 47 for the defense, who did probably the best of everybody who was up there. But then again, he also wasn't on his phone for most of it like Binger was, but then he also didn't object to anything really. He noted that, yeah, in the supposedly enhanced photographs that were up there in the enhanced video, which if you take a look at it, it boggles the fucking mind, okay? Because that video footage, once again, is smaller than a traditional full high definition 1920 by 1080p picture, okay? And then the old fat ass fucking assistant district attorney, fucking Christ, getting so worked up, was playing the video on a larger screen for the judge. The judge got off of the fucking bench, went and sat and took a look at the video that was being played on a 4K TV. So they were upscaling video in order to fit full high definition parameters, and then blew it up once again to be on 4K televisions. And he even noted that, wow, it looks blurry and we can't even tell on this one screen. So bring in the 4K screen, couldn't tell what the fuck was actually going on, and then still looked at the video evidence that doesn't really show anything, because the drone footage is from like here. Well, honestly, I can just describe it, okay? If you're taking a look at an intersection with traffic lights, okay, the drone footage is at least, okay, it's at least 20 yards behind the intersection, and then it's trying to show a parking lot, and it allegedly shows Kyle doing something, putting down a fire extinguisher, which, yeah, he placed it on the ground and then it fell over. So, yeah, obviously you can definitely make that out, only if you're being instructed. That's what's in the video. And then, yeah, he picks up and fires his gun, okay, apparently in opposition to the strap that he's wearing, and then also for the first time in the night, and the only time that you can actually see this on any of the video footage, the only time that this has ever been attested to, and the only time that it has been attested to, is from the prosecution. None of their witnesses ever claimed to have seen this. Pulled up his gun and then pointed it at somebody who was off screen, okay, saying that it was Joshua Zeminski or Kelly Zeminski, which you can't even point out accurately on the video, okay? Old Fatlock there was saying, oh yeah, it looks like they might be there. He was using a wooden pointer at a 4K television screen, okay? Trying to point out, that's Kyle up there, and I don't know, but I think that's probably Zeminski. And meanwhile, the judge is looking at it, looked at it at least 3 times, had it run back, okay? Had it slowed down, and then he was still, I don't know, but then at the end of the day, he's still going to allow the jury to look at it, because I just kind of err on the side that the jury should be looking at this stuff. Can't fucking believe it. But last but not least, just in case you just needed a reminder that this is a totally fucking massive show trial, there has been no protests outside of the courthouse every single day of the trial. But then all of a sudden, Governor Tony Evers authorized the National Guard troops to Kenosha following Rittenhouse trial. This kid's gonna get railroaded, and I can't fucking stand it. He's gonna get convicted of something, and it's horrifying to think about, because he didn't do anything wrong. We've seen the video, we've heard the testimony, we've seen the sleazy people that have been up there, and then we also see them on mainstream outlets just refuting everything that they're saying, all to resuscitate his fucking civil claim so he can walk away with $10 million. I don't know, man. The fucking defense better figure out, they better grow some legal wings over the weekend and then just live, eat, and breathe this fucking trial over Saturday and Sunday and figure something out and magically become better lawyers, because this kid's life is hanging in the balance. But yeah, sorry we gotta kick off your weekend like that. I got a whole host of really not so inflammatory content over the weekend, and unless anything breaks on this, I've got to, I don't know, work on my fucking computer because it continues to die just like a pedophile in Kenosha. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.